Hey everybody, welcome to the Sister Circle. We pray that you all have had just an awesome week so far, and we're excited that you are joining us this evening. And we are pretty excited because when we sat and said, okay, hey, what do we want to talk about next week? We all looked at our bank accounts and recognized that our money was funny and our change was strange. And so after we met with Crystal Marie, and she inspired us on starting our own business. And then we realized that we only had $5 total in our account, that we may want to touch base with someone that handles money management. So that is our topic for tonight. So we are excited to have our special guest, Deirdre Taylor. Um, and she is a CPA and a financial advisor. So, all of you that are hanging out and listening to Sister Circle, please help us welcome Deirdre Taylor. So, before we start and kind of ask questions, I do want to remind you all that we are able to field your questions and ask Ms. Taylor those questions live while we're in our conversation. But in order for us to be able to do that, we need for you to put your comments on the Victory Baptist Church of Dallas Facebook page or our YouTube page. So Victory Baptist Church of Dallas Facebook or YouTube page. If you do that, then all of the members of the Sister Circle are able to see those in real time, and we can begin to ask those questions. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it to Ametria to kind of throw out the first question.
All right. So my first question I have two children, and I never know the best way or what are some best practices about saving for them. Is it savings account route? Do you do a CD? What are some good savings tips that you can give or best practices for saving for your children's future?
Okay, that is an excellent question. Right now, my child is 25, so I can give you guys some tips on what I did to get him on track. It's not easy, but there's a couple of things I would recommend. It depends on the age of the children. I think K through middle school, you would give them maybe, you know, you would give them a chance to earn an allowance. And so whatever the allowance they get, teach them how to save some of that money. So I would say go back to the old school jar, like a clear jar that you can see. And so it allowed them to put the money in there. But what it's also doing is showing them how to be disciplined, how to walk past that jar without putting their hand in there. So that's kind of teaching discipline on a more like K through 5 or middle school level, teaching them how to save the money and not pull it out. And then the second thing would be more of for the high schoolers, if you allow them to work during the summer, let them earn their own money and then require that they save some. So whatever your household teaches, if it teaches tithing, paying, whatever your household teaches, make sure that they do that. You got to stay on them because they're teenagers. They're going to want to buy everything in the world out there. So just make sure they stay on that. But from a practical standpoint, okay. From a practical standpoint, as the parents, with me being a CPA, I'm gonna always throw some tax advice in there. So I hope you guys don't mind that. So there are some college funds called the 529, the college fund. So the 529 accounts, you can open an account up. Not only a lot of grandparents are opening accounts up for their grandchildren as a gift instead of giving them all these gifts that maybe they don't need, but they're giving them 529 accounts. So you can take advantage of the taxes. You can save that money tax free. So the growth in the money is tax free. And when you pull it out, if that child goes to, say, a Texas school, they can pull it out. The income is tax free. So that's a strategy if your child is going to remain in the state of Texas.
Gotcha.
Now, you might have some viewers that are outside of Texas. Just know that you have to go through your state to get that 529 fund. And it's pretty easy to set one up, but that's more of a practical, but just dealing with your kids for best practices, just age appropriately introduce them to money.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think for me, one of the questions that I have is budgeting.
Okay.
I feel like that's probably one of my biggest challenges. And so what I've started doing was pulling things out. So that's more on the saving side. But so let me start with this question. What are your thoughts on the Dave Ramsey program? And is that something that you would recommend that people go through, or is there another option or anything like that you might suggest?
I think with the Dave Ramsey program, it is a really good program. Someone a couple of years ago blessed me with the entire program. Told him, okay. And so I didn't go through it, but I do understand the principles of what he's doing, as well as Crown Financial is who trained me to be a budget coach. So I think I compared, both of them are really good, and they teach this roadmap system. And I think he teaches the cash envelope system. It's a really good program. I think you have to invest a little bit of your money to get most of his products. So if you have the money to invest, I'd encourage it. But if you don't quite have the money to invest in those programs, I would encourage you to try some other low-cost alternatives for budgeting. For example, if you want to there's different apps that you can use that are free or low cost. Your credit union or bank, well, mostly credit unions offer financial advice. They're going to give you just a little, but they don't charge for it. So if you have an account there, I've noticed that presenters in at different companies I worked for from the credit union. So what they're trying to do is market the credit union, but they also provide low cost budgeting advice. So that will be really good for your followers to know. From this spectrum, you have the credit union and you have the free apps. But over here, if you can afford to invest in Dave Ramsey, I highly recommend Dave Ramsey's program.
So when you think about budgeting, what budgeting tips would you give to anyone that's just been winging it here? What would you say are some specific things that they should really be thinking about when it comes to budgeting?
For budgeting, the tips I would give is ensure that if you're married, make sure your spouse is in those budgeting sessions that you're having. Don't try to budget by yourself, because you might have some income that he or she's missing or expenses. So I would say, number one, if you're married, sit down with your spouse. Number two, know that it takes a little bit to change your behavior when it comes to budgeting. So you can't go from never ever budgeting to all of a sudden you're going to be strict and rigid. And I don't recommend that at all, because we all have to live. So there is a category on my budget that says entertainment. Now with COVID, I don't know how much entertainment I've actually used in that category. So I moved it up to the food category. So I've been eating more. So just know that you have your categories, but get a good budgeting tool, get a good budgeting software, and kind of learn it inside and out. I do have some here. Let's see here that you can use. One I think that's new on the scene is called Mint. So it's an app called Mint.com. Mint is actually was developed by Intuit, which is TurboTax. So if you guys ever use TurboTax, they're the same company. So it's user friendly. So try Mint.com to use for budgeting, and also have some other freebies and stuff. So I'll share that at the end. But get a good tool to help you, because I think with Mint, it'll automatically take all your business transactions and load it over, and it'll categorize it for you. So you can see what category you're overspending in. So when I saw that the first time on the graph, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm overspending in this area. So if you do budgeting like the older way with the Excel spreadsheet, you might not be totally honest on there because you're like, oh, I don't want to put my nail salon or my hair on there, and you're thinking it's going to make it better. But my tip would be totally honest, be brutally honest with yourself. Put down your income and your expenses, and put everything on there. And so once you put it on there, and then you set yourself a goal for next month, I'm gonna do better.
Hmm.
Don't be so hard on yourself because you're gonna set yourself up to fail and just give up. So I just say take one category and just master that. Like it could be going out to eat all the time, or it could be purchasing just something that you know that you can control. Just don't be so hard on yourself. But that would be my advice.
So one of the questions that's on here is, you mentioned something about credit union. So would you recommend a credit union? Is there one that you found to be the best or the most helpful?
Yeah, the credit unions actually are created for you to have a common purpose. For example, I guess teachers' credit union is for people who are teachers. Then you have city credit union is for, like I worked at the city of Dallas for many years, so I just went ahead and opened an account there at the city. But I noticed all credit unions, they kind of follow the same philosophy. Most of them don't have fees for their checking account or low fees, as well as Bank of America. I have Bank of America for personal and credit, and I have a credit union account, but the bank fees are a whole lot higher. I think you can get approved at the credit union for maybe a car loan or mortgage a little bit easier. The rules are not as strict. So I think you maybe have a better chance to get a loan. And you'll have more of a personable experience at the credit union. So I would highly recommend a credit union also when you're getting ready to show that high schooler how to save money, how to go in and walk in there and do deposits and withdrawals or whatever. That's the old way of doing it, but I feel like those are teachable moments that they should learn. And then everybody's opening accounts online and apps and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, but the credit union to me will be great for number one for teaching your children how to save. But number two, they have better interest rates for car loans, excellent rates. So that's why. And I also worked at a credit union a long time ago, and I kind of learned the differences between the banks and the credit unions.
Can you explain, Deirdre, can you just explain a little bit more about the difference between a bank and a credit union? I'm just trying to see, what's the pros and cons of a credit union?
I think the credit union has low fees, low interest rates. You might get approved a little bit quicker. I know some bigger churches here in Dallas have credit unions attached to their church. And I would definitely, because it's giving money back to the community. It's giving money back to the money you put in there is your money. You're like you're part of the ownership. So if you go to the other bank, the big banks like Chase and Bank of America, they have a large board of directors that are being paid big money. So they have to pass that cost down to the interest. Like interest rates are a whole lot higher. So the board of directors salaries. So again, they're good because I love the big banks technology. I mean, snapping checks and deposits, you never have to go anywhere. You might not get that with a credit union, but if you're okay with not having the latest bells and whistles with your technology, the credit union should be pretty good.
So I know you and I talked, and Terrell, just cut me off whenever you're ready, but I know you and I talked before just about saving, and when you're saving money, I now have my money being pulled out of as a direct deposit going into my savings account. But you mentioned something about having this separate account when you're saving and maybe putting it into some different account or credit union or something like that. You want to talk a little bit more about when it comes to saving, what you suggest?
Yeah, I think what my recommendation, if you are having a hard time getting started saving and you might need a little help with disciplining yourself, open an account up that is hard to get to. For example, a credit union or bank, and do not get a debit card with it. So what that's doing is allowing you to put money, drive way over there, put the money and drive way to get it. So I think that's making it hard. If you're not a disciplined person and you just take that debit card and keep swiping, you're going to take the money out as soon as it go in there. So just for the beginning, just until you get the behavior changed to where you can have the discipline to save and not touch it. I recommend this to everybody. I've been doing this for many years, but I think we also talked about the payroll deduction. So I think the strategy would be if your employee can do payroll deduction out of your account, ACH that money over to your savings account, and then you don't see it. You'll see it on your check stub, but you won't see it until you sit at the bank. So you still have access to it. It just makes it harder until you can get disciplined. So that's a little strategy that I give to all my clients and colleagues and friends that, hey, if you're having a hard time saving, you still have access to it, but it just makes it harder for you to go get it. So I don't know if any of you guys have ever done that.
Yeah. Terrell, you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to know, is investing in stocks a good idea for a person that does not make a large salary? And if it is not, what do you suggest that you invest in? Like, we know about saving, but to grow our money.
Okay, so if you are not making, say, a high dollar salary, if you're making pretty much a decent salary, you're making ends meet, my determinator is like, so I would say yes, invest into the stock market. But if you have debt out there and that debt is eating your money up every month, I would say absolutely no. Don't do that until you can get that debt down. So I'm not sure if Dave Ramsey teaches on his roadmap to get the debt down at least until you can get enough of that debt down to where it's not hurting your budget every month. I would say kind of stay away from that stock market but continue to learn and educate yourself on it, because one day you will get there. If you stay diligent, you will get to the point where you're able to invest. I would never tell anybody no. But for me, I would say not right now.
Not right now. Mm-hmm.
So going back, and you brought up debt, which I'm glad you brought that up. So for some of us, debt is almost crippling, right? So we just can't seem to get out of it. So first, can you just give us some basic information when you think about credit score and what credit score you should have and how to improve your credit score? What tips would you say that those listening would need to know?
So the credit score, of course, we all know this is very important. It kind of determines what you're going to pay on a car loan. Is now determining how much you're going to pay in your car insurance and stuff like that. So a lot of people are pulling your credit for that, but I think the most costliest loan is your mortgage. So if you own a home and you have a credit score that's in the 5s or 6, you might not get the best rate. And so I would say you need to work on that at least 6 to 12 months before you decide to buy a home. And so there are a lot of people out here that are doing credit repair. And so I met maybe a couple of good people. I don't know a lot, so I haven't vetted a lot, but a couple of good people that do offer credit repair to get to that point. So they have all the inside scoop on what they do. Like there's some rules that if you, I'm trying to remember one of the rules. I can't think of them right off the top of my head, but that will be more. So I would share my colleague who can actually help you guys with that. If anybody want to know, I have a good name and a phone number. I vet it personally, and also we're kind of from the same hometown, so I kind of feel that this person is really trusted. So I don't have those specifics, but I know somebody who does. I do know that me personally, I don't think he minds me sharing this, but my son is 25, and so he actually he understands the importance now. So he purchased a car last year, a couple of years ago, when he had some credit issues, and the rates are extremely high. So while he was at the dealership, I don't know if you guys know this, but they're having credit repairing companies right there at the dealership saying, hey, why don't you come see us so you can refinance in 12 months. So that's what he did. His score is going shooting up right now. So I'm like, that's a neat strategy to have that repair person there. But I asked him, he said his points have went up by going to this person, and they're contesting things on his credit report. But the thing I would watch out for, there are some people that are overly promising to clean your credit up. And I've heard a lot of people when they get the whatever it is, the item off of the credit report, that these things pop back up. And so I would just ask that person, if you're going to go that route, to go and make sure they tell you the truth. And there are so many other like websites out there, like the Consumer Credit Counseling. There's a nonprofit agency. I don't have the website, but I would encourage your followers to go to Consumer Credit Counseling. I think they have a lot of good information on their website. So you can have that information, study for yourself, and then when you go meet a credit repair person, you should be real knowledgeable before you had that conversation. Yeah, so they've been around a long time.
So, Deidre, I have a question about getting a personal financial advisor. If I'm someone who is needing some personal touches and personal assistance, what are, I guess, I know everybody probably have their own pricing. And if I'm trying to learn how to save and how to do it better, how do I afford a financial advisor?
Yeah, I think there's so many people that offer that advice out there now. I've added that onto my firm too as well. So the pricing is like, I had my sister do the research. You have pricing from $250 to $25,000. So you have this big range here going. So I think
is that a session or how? Or
no, that's for like, so say for 6 to 8 sessions.
Okay.
And so there are some ridiculous prices out there, but you have to just interview a few people. I would say interview and see how many sessions that include. See if you get along with that person, if that person, and then see if that person has what you want. Meaning, see if that person has a credit score that you desire to have, or say it sounds like they have their finances in order. You don't want somebody that's still struggling themselves. You don't want a coach like that. And so I do offer the coaching in my practice. I'm coaching a couple of new businesses, and I love doing stuff like that. I love helping people, showing them how to be accountable, and just personal touch, because we can only cover so much within an hour or even on a phone call. And so if you want to invest that time into something personalized, go to a financial coach. There are also financial advisors, like on the investment side. So when you hear financial advisor, that's more on the investment and money side. So what they do, they provide a free initial consultation, and then you go from there. So they'll give you a plan, but then you have to invest your money with them. So I want to make sure people know that there's a difference from the financial advisor and then the coach. The coach is going to, hold you accountable, make sure you meet your goals. And that coach should have experience in the area that you're looking for. So I would just say,
I didn't even know there was a financial coach, and I thought it was all the same.
Well, I did. No, I made that distinguish. I wanted to make sure you guys understood that, because I didn't know a few months ago when I got started. So I do have the financial advisors friends that I know. I have 2 good resources if you need help with trying to figure out what assets you want to put your money in. If you want equities and real estate and all these other international funds, those are financial advisors. So I got 2 good ones in Dallas. If you guys want 2 good ones, one from Edward Jones, another one's from Raymond James. I got the information for you. So you guys just ask me. I've vetted them already. So I get a lot of calls all the time from the advisors, but I want to make sure I send people that I've already talked to and known for a while. So these people are really good. They might sit down with you for 15 minutes. But then, they are really looking for you to invest the money in. But again, the coaching is just more hand holding and holding you accountable. So I hope I answered that question.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, that was good. You
Okay.
have someone here just saying, where can I go to seek your services? So tell just a little bit about your what you do and
Your
what
practice.
what
Okay.
you offer.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a CPA here in Dallas, actually in the Addison area. I've been I've been in accounting management for a while, so I've also been in business for over 20 years. But my specialty is just taxation, taxes, accounting, setting up companies. I'm doing financial and business coaching. So I have a passion to help small business owners get going, so I can help them do their taxes. But to me, I love the one-on-one interaction with people. So my email address is dltaylor David Larry Taylor .cpa@gmail.com. If they go ahead and send me an email now, I will go ahead and get something on the books for a free consultation. So we can go over some things, some of their pain points, and we can talk about what do they need in a CPA, because we're all different, and see if there's a good fit. But I would love, I love helping people. So not only just the taxes and whatever, I just love helping people to make sure that I help them solve their problems. So again, that's dltaylor.cpa@gmail.com.
Okay, so you mentioned problems. So here's mine.
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready.
Student loan.
Uh-oh.
What? Where? How?
Just
Yeah.
help, right? Just help. So I was able to do a couple of researches. I know I would advise, if you were still in college or right before college, I would give you different advice, because I would say do not get any student loans if you can. Try to work and try to get grants, try to get whatever, and try not to get as much as you, unless you really need it. But since you do have student loans now, that's okay. You needed to, those are investments into yourself and to your education. And so you needed the student loans. So one thing I found, like, what I would recommend is they got programs that are called the forgiveness loan. So, or I know y'all probably know about the teacher's forgiveness. You can work at certain schools or whatever, and you can get your loan forgiven. So if you go into education, there's let me look for that. The FFEL, Frank Ed Larry program for teachers. So if there's any teachers out there or aspiring teachers, or you're about to go into the industry, go to FFEL, the program, and follow the rules. I mean, you can teach, and it might not be at the school that you want to teach at, but just know that, you know, you're helping children and you're getting your loan forgiven as well. And so there are some others, like I have a friend that's a nurse. She went into school and found the forgiveness. So other professionals would be the PSLF loan. That's Paul, Sam, Larry, Frank. The PSLF, and that's for public service. So if you go into city, local government, federal government, there are some companies you can go into and get those loans forgiven. So I'm not sure what profession you're in. So I'm not, you're in education? Okay. So you've probably heard of those teacher loans, right?
Yeah, I think the challenges with those is it's almost like you need to know that before you because it has to be a certain type of loan.
Correct.
And if it's not, and so I've had that similar situation, that, and if it's not that certain type of loan, then you have to move your money over to that loan, and the 10 years start, or the 20, it starts from that beginning date. So even though you've made all of those payments, but if you move it over to the specific loan that they want you to have,
Okay.
you start over. So to me, just for those that are out there listening, when it comes to student loan and student loan forgiveness, my encouragement, especially for young going into college, or just coming out, you're just starting to pay your loans and things like that. Start looking up the information now, and I
Okay.
know also just being careful about those companies that promise to help you.
Because I've gotten got. So
Oh wow.
yes. So
Okay.
that's why I say I need that one-on-one hand holding to know where to go, because I've gotten got already, and my trust level is very low on all these other programs. I don't know who to trust. So that is
That's understandable. Oh wow, I didn't know this. So that was the fast and quick way of getting the student loans. But the longer way is the strategic way of paying them out. I'm like just kind of paying them off. If you own a home and you have some equity or something in your home, that's where I wouldn't give that advice to you right now without knowing your entire situation.
Yeah.
But that's when you have a personalized. You might have something that we talk about that could pay off their loan quicker. And so without me knowing your full situation, I guarantee there's something out there that could help you pay it off a little bit faster. But I know the forgiveness was the quicker one, the quicker way of doing it. But that's good.
When I started.
Well, let me ask a question. So are you suggesting like consolidating? And so like maybe I'm just trying to think, are you saying, hey, take all your loans and put them into, one big loan, or and pay it off that way? My option has been, let's just not pay it. And let's just see what happens.
No, you can't do that. If you want so many other kind of
I still need help.
No, my idea or strategy was more like, say if you own a home and you have equity in it, and so you get an equity loan to pay off your student loans, and you might be able to write off that interest on that mortgage loan that you get. There might be a little tax benefit behind that. So that's why it's like 101. And remember, I think taxes all the time with my answers. So.
Right. So my husband is the JB Pay person talking about we got work to do. So that's for the information. So we will be calling you.
Please call me. Please call. I would love to help you out.
So let me transition real quick into taxes. So most of us, or not everybody has an accountant. So I know I know you're a CPA. You recommend having an account, especially if it's just, a small family, you and your husband, and maybe your kids, you don't own a business, do I need an accountant, or is the ones on the corner sufficient in helping me during tax season? Because right now, we all don't mind the ones in the corner until we got to pay, till they come out and they're like, we got to pay something, and we looking like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. We're gonna find somebody else. But so from your perspective, when you know all of the tax laws and things like that, what would you really recommend for families? Do I need a CPA?
Okay, so of course I'm going to say you need a CPA, and here I am. But practically, I have different clients and I have different experiences. So I have people that are really smart. They know TurboTax, for example. So a lot of people use TurboTax because it is user friendly. And I had a chance to work for them this tax season behind the scenes. So I was one of the tax experts of TurboTax. So I was able to look at their system and teach people how to use their system. But I noticed a lot of their customers were pretty tax savvy. So if you're pretty tax savvy, you love doing taxes, it doesn't stress you out, I would say go use that TurboTax and do self-service when your situation is really basic and simple. But when you start going into other, like when you start trying to purchase a home or having children, there's tax credits, child credits. Just when your life starts changing, I would say you might want to just go ahead and hire hire a professional. I believe sometimes you wouldn't believe, but sometimes my prices or CPA prices may be a little bit lower than that person on the corner. Because of the person on the corner, if it's more of one of those big brands like say H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt, they're going to cost a little bit more because they do a lot of marketing. And so, but if you do decide to go that route, I really recommend that you ask for somebody that's been there at least 10 years. Because some people that just show up and say, hey, I want to prepare taxes, they go to those two places and they say, okay, yeah, here you go. We're going to train you for about a week and then we're going to do somebody's taxes. And that to me, it makes me really uncomfortable that people go there, because I did. When I got out of college, I went straight to one of those places and I had no idea what I was doing. I graduated with an accounting degree and didn't know anything. So that lets you know, no, because we only had one tax class we had to go to required in college, just one. So going there is not a bad idea. But I believe like a CPA like me could help you not with just your taxes. We can help with other issues that you have in life, meaning like your finance. We are connected with like other investment advisors. We're connected with a lot of life insurance, and there's strategies to save money with life insurance agents. So we're connected, I guess what you call the full service type financial professional. So we'll do your taxes, but if you tell us what's going on in your life, we're like, no, don't do that. Don't buy that house here or for a mortgage. So we're going to help you overall and be your kind of like your trusted business advisor. But again, if you want to go to the TurboTax, I would recommend that in the beginning, but don't make that forever, because we want you growing. We want your income growing to a point where you're looking for a tax deduction. So that's my hope and desire. Just have hope. My desire is always to help people. So it's to me, we want you to grow. We want you to pay more taxes because that means you're making more income. If you look at it like that, that's what I explain to people when they owe. I'm like, oh my gosh, that means you made more money this year. You made more money. So let's see if we can get that bill down next year. So again, we look at the full picture when it comes to taxes. So I would recommend that you hire your CPA as soon as you start having these life changes.
So when you think about taxes, people doing their taxes, what are some missed deduction? Like what are some things that people miss all the time that this would be something for them to think about when it comes to their taxes, making sure you do this, or you don't miss this deduction. What would you suggest or recommend?
So I'm just thinking back on like the experience I had with the TurboTax customers. And so we would go in and do reviews. They would forget to say check a box that would allow them to, if they're a business owner, there's a new deduction called a QBI. So they could write off 20% of their expenses. So new deductions like the QBI for the small business owner, I would recommend that they look that up. So next time they could just go and make sure that they click on the right buttons for QBI. The biggest write-off for business owners would be mileage. And so I do have an app for that you can track the mileage, because that's when you don't take advantage of your mileage write-off, you're actually paying the government more money. So there's a good app out there called Expensify. I know a lot of small and medium-sized companies. I don't know if you guys have seen it. So Expensify will help you track those receipts. You'll snap pictures or you do your mileage, but those deductions are very huge. When I notice that I'm working with my small business owners and they're owing at the end of the year, I'm like, okay, you sure go recalculate your expenses and things like that. So that's from the small business owner. And so that's say 60% of my clientele is small. But like from a personal standpoint, sometimes the tax law changes. There's a child tax credit. There's deductions like, I don't know if you guys know, you can write off your energy efficient windows, or there's different energy efficient write-offs, and those are pretty big. So if you're trying to think about upgrading your house, or you can write those off for a big deduction. What else? Just any credits, or if you have that's Yeah, so if anybody wants to go on and just make an appointment with me, they can go on my website and I can, if they have any other specific questions, I can answer the tax question from there. But it's so broad right now that I'm thinking of, what else could you write off? You can write off meals and entertainment. You can write off um, the tolls. You can write off tolls, but again, that's if you're a business owner. What else? That's pretty much all that I can think of now. There's so many deductions out there. So if they can just go to my website and click or email me to make an appointment, I'll be happy to go over some more.
So we have someone that says, I have a small portfolio. Do you recommend I use a CPA?
Yes, of course, absolutely. But as far as a small portfolio for, if they're asking for specifically for investment, small could be, I'm not sure if they're meaning 50,000 or below, or 20,000 or below. I recommend that they go directly to an investment advisor who could also still be a CPA. So going to an investment advisor again, I have the two names that I refer to. They will be happy to go over and set up a free financial plan, go over whatever small amount that they have, and go from there. So they're gonna give them some tips, some free tips on how to allocate their money if their money's allocated. So not sure what they mean by how much they're referring to as small. So
awesome. Terrell, did you have another question?
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're muted. Hold on.
Okay, so speaking about retirement, and then just want to know, how do you go to say I want to retire in X amount of years? How do you know what to put on the side? And then also, do you put that in the 401k or IRA?
Okay. So the 401k, the IRA, kind of, the closer you get to retirement, I say either account will be fine now, like say when you're in your mid 40s. But the closer you get to retirement, you want to move those out of that 401k. And it's to me, or if you keep them in there, you have to tell your advisor, put them in something conservative. Like, you don't want them out there being too risky, because the closer you get to retirement, you don't want no risk involved. You want to make sure that balance stays intact. So the IRA, if it's from the bank, of course, they're not paying a lot, but you feel confident that you're not getting ready to lose a lot of money. So I always remember, you can play with it in your 40s. The 401k is more risky than the stock market. The IRAs, I'm known as in the bank and the credit union, they're not in the stock market. They're a little bit conservative. So I would say mix them up for now, but the closer you get, start moving them out of that 401k. Start getting away from the stock market, unless you have a really good investment advisor that you're paying attention to, that you're holding accountable. Like, hey, why is this going up and going down? I would take that strategy. So risky now in your 40s, and just really, really tighten up to some conservative as you get to your 50s and 60s. That was a really good question.
Yeah. So when you think about retirement, though, is there a certain amount that you should be thinking, I need to have my salary covered for the next 30 years or something like that? I guess I'm just trying to see,
Yeah.
prepare for retirement if I have what?
So if I had a crystal ball right here, and everybody comes to me and I had a crystal ball and say, this is what you need, I think that would be ideal. But it's so many, I guess, moving variables that could affect that, like life happens. But say, for example, we say in our situation, we have our current income, we have our household expenses. We're living a lifestyle that we want to maintain. The way we're living now, we want to live when we're in our 60s. And most people don't. They're willing to downsize that big house to something smaller. They're willing to just downsize during that time. So right now, I would recommend that in order to calculate that, you have to have all your savings balance and all your retirement balances. You have to what your monthly budget is now and what you want your monthly budget to be in the future. And from those three pieces of information, that's what the retirement plan will do for you. So there's retirement calculators out there, as well as again, the investment advisor. They're going to charge you a lot for those retirement plans, but to do it yourself, I have another website or a link that I use a lot when I'm doing those calculations, and it's called bankrate.com. So if you go to bankrate.com, I've been using it for over 10 years. They're very reliable. But again, remember, have those three pieces of information: all your savings and retirement you have now, what your monthly budget expenses are now, what you can reasonably afford in the future, what you think you can live off of, and you plug that information in there, and you should get what they're going to tell you how much you need to contribute every year to live comfortably. So just three pieces of information and bankrate.com.
Bankrate.com. That's good. So we have somebody asking a question saying, I'm retiring in 2 years. Should I start moving my funds over now? What would you recommend?
I recommend that if they have, it depends on what kind of retirement fund they have. Do they have a defined benefit plan like we have at the City of Dallas, or teachers retirement? Those are two defined benefit plans. You can't really move, but if they have 401k, that's pretty big. If you're getting ready to retire, they should be in something conservative. And then again, I would, if I was your follower, your follower, I would go to, if those funds are in a Fidelity account or in a Edward Jones account, go to that advisor that's listed on that statement and go ask that question, because they should be able to. I don't think I can give good advice without knowing what kind of funds they're already in. I would hate to say moving from a really risky account today and moving to something conservative, and it would cause them to have a lot of losses. So I can't give general advice, but I can say, why don't they go to their advisor and ask that question, that advisor, and if they don't like the advisor's question, go to another advisor, because they will be willing to move the money over to them. I mean, you can move money all day, but go somewhere that there should be an advisor's name on that statement that they have, and move the money accordingly, because I think they're going to give them a little bit more detail.
Awesome. So I think another question for me is, when you think about savings, and I'm going back to savings, what percent of my salary should I be putting towards my savings?
Good question.
That's a good question.
Because if I don't make a lot, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
What?
You know, a lot of people say, give 10%, save 10%, and then you use the rest. But if you have a pretty good, decent salary, then that might be a little too much. But that is usually the generic: save your 10%, give away the 10%, whether it's to your nonprofit or to your church, and you can use the remaining of that. But if you have any extra left over, I would say give more to your local church. That's just me, it's my opinion, but I will give more to the kingdom. That's me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking to see if there are additional questions that maybe we missed on here.
Someone asked, when do you get a will done?
Oh,
so estate planning. I think you should have a will done. I think as soon as you enter the workforce. I think as soon as you enter your workforce, you should go ahead and set one up. Even if you're single or married, go ahead and set the will up. If you have assets, definitely set the will up. But if you're single with no assets, then you're like, it doesn't really matter. But say if you have assets, meaning houses, even a savings account, anything you own is really important. You want to pass down to someone particular. You don't want this family member over here getting it, because they're gonna just do whatever with it, sell it, get rid of it, and just blow the money. You can tell that will to go ahead and you wanted to pass down to certain people. So as soon as I think it started acquiring assets and working in the workforce.
And do you go through a CPA, or do you go through a lawyer, or where are the avenues to get
I
a
think
will?
the best place is to go to an estate attorney. That's the best place to go. You know, they have LegalZoom. If you know a little bit, pretty smart, you have family members that are lawyers, you can go to LegalZoom and just kind of bounce stuff off of them, because LegalZoom is pretty good. But if you don't have anyone, I do have a referral also that they're an estate attorney, but they're not cheap either. So
That was a question. What is the typical cost to set up a will? And should you do if I'm married, I'm married. So would I do my own individual one, or do me and my husband do one together? Or how do you go about?
For estate planner, I actually had to get a referral. So it was a small attorney that does estate planning, and I think their price was like between $300 to $400, because I don't have a lot of assets. I had a house and a car, and then I have a son too. So if you got children and you want money to go over here, and you're single, and you don't want the state to determine, or you don't want your family paying probate costs and set up that will, because that happens a lot. We don't want, the purpose to me will be not paying probate costs and just directing where you want your assets to go.
Can you explain probate costs?
The probate is when the state has to determine where your assets go. So, for example, if I don't have a will, I'm single, I don't have a will, say I have 2 kids, and one kid is going to squander all the money, so I want this one to get a little bit more, or I want my parents to have money if I die before them. I want them to have some money. So splitting it up that way is my heart's desire, but I forgot to put it on a piece of paper. So when I don't put it on a piece of paper, it goes to probate. And probate means it's going through the court system. They're having to ask questions, and an attorney is doing a little investigation, and they're looking for wills. They're going through all this, and then there's court costs to go to get it filed, and then they make you wait a few months or periods, and it just costs a lot every time you go back to the courthouse for any kind of question. So the probate process is just going to the court for direction, since you don't have a written will.
What financial advice would you have for low income families that are just really trying to do better? And the question here, even, what's the greatest financial literacy need? What is it, just when you think of people that are struggling financially, what is it, if you had to give, the top couple tips, tools for them, what would you suggest that they need?
So what I would suggest what I would recommend is, like, really reach down inside and see, what is it that I need to change? It first, number one, I always get that mixed up. Is my income greater than my expenses? If they are, I might have a little room to save here. So, but when I notice I have a little free or extra overtime in my check, I go blow it or something like that. So I would ask people to reach deep down inside. Do you want to change or learn how to save? Look to see if your ends are meeting. And so if they are meeting, then that's more of an expense issue. Like, stop going out to eat as much. And I always say that because I like to go out to eat. Maybe cook more. And if your ends are not meeting, meaning your income is not greater than your expenses, that means I would say maybe look into a side hustle. Maybe look into, if you have kids, I know it's kind of hard to have a second job, and I know a lot of people are doing that these days, just working because they're trying to make the ends meet. So I'll just say, just make sure, if you want to save, you can do it. Just make sure you Take advantage of the payroll deduction that we talked about earlier. Payroll deduction at your job, just even if it's $5 a week, $10 a week, 50 a month. Take advantage of payroll deduction so you won't miss that money, and put it in an account way off, like we had discussed earlier. Put it in an account somewhere that you can't get to. You have access to it, but you can't get to it. So once you get down to thinking like, I really need to do something about my financial situation, I'm praying, I'm hoping that God, get me out of this. But I think it starts in your mind. Like, what do you think about money? It is renewing your mind daily. It really is. And I know it's hard. I know it's really hard for if you're not making as much money, but just keep your outlook, your positive outlook, and just change that mind every day. So then once you get the money, say, no, I'm not doing this. No, you have to be disciplined. And again, I know that's hard too. So that will be my advice, just to renew your mind every day. Like, God, help me save, help me make more money, help me make better decisions to be a better steward of my assets, because I know you're going to bless it if I take this serious and be more a better steward. So again, I'm not saying they're not good stewards of their income. It's just reach deep down inside and see, what is it that I need to change to get me out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Get me to make a little bit more money, and then you never know, later on down the line you might be at a place, and it happens all day long. So I would just encourage them to just keep their faith going.
Yeah, I think, and one of the things you mentioned that I think for some of us is that, my income isn't bad, right? It's my lifestyle that's bad.
Yeah, you gotta be real with yourself. Look in the mirror.
One of the things that I had to figure out was when you mentioned starting small. Because I was like, all right, I'm just gonna put $100 every paycheck. But then I'm like, wait, I need to go get some of that to get through the paycheck. So I had to learn to, not so much in the beginning, because start small, and once you get comfortable and get used to that money not, being in your paycheck, then you can increase that. And then, so the starting small is very smart, because I know it's like, I feel like I'm behind. Like I'm 45 years old and I ain't started saving. I need to do more now. It's like, no, you might still need to start small. So that was my, initial question about saving for my children and their future. Not feeling, anxious, because I feel like I'm starting late, and I mean, they're only 3 and 5, but still, like, it's like, shoot, I should have started when I first had them, and so it's like, how do I, catch up, or I'm behind in saving for them, and I want to make sure that, their future is secure, and they don't have to really worry about anything, and also, still teaching them how to take care of their money and how to save their money. But what can I do as a parent to jumpstart that and get that started? So, you giving us the advice about the 529 plan, and that's something that we could pass on to our village. Some people have godparents for our children and grandparents are still alive, and so I think that was really great advice. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I think the other thing too that is difficult is for some of us that are living paycheck to paycheck, that future mindset is really not there, and I'm just trying to think how we can encourage those viewers that are out there, because, in some cases, it's all I could do to pay my bills. And then I still like to do a little Pappadeaux, but,
we got to go cook. So you better
right. And that's the rest part, right? That's the discipline, because I think, there's Ametria has really been thinking about her kids, but I mean, if I'm very candid, I'm like, I didn't think nothing, and my kid's older than her kids, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should be. I like when I talked to you before, Deirdre, I told you, I'm saving, but that's for my cruise, like. it's totally unrelated to my future. Like it's literally like I'm just
You
gonna
know,
cruise.
Kelly, you know why? Because we are banking on our kids to get scholarships and we ain't gotta pay nothing. That is why we thinking that way.
Okay. Right. Maybe because I feel like I'm paying tuition now. I'm thinking it's gonna come out on a positive end for me later, and
I'm investing now.
that's right. They'll be college scholarships. But I just think any encouraging, and we have a minute left, but any last encouraging things just to help us as a people really to be thinking beyond the present. And I think that just as a culture, and I could be wrong, we're just very much in the present because we're paycheck to paycheck, and and you just hit on all of those, the will, these are all things that don't have an impact right now, and we can't really think about anything that is not happening right now.
Yeah. So no, I've been at that place where like I'm getting down to my last dime. I mean, just at that one of those low moments and one of those places where like I'm not sure how I'm gonna pay this. But so to me, I don't know if most of your followers are Christians, but I say you really have to focus on God during this time because it's always I feel like your relationship with money is a spiritual thing. It's spiritual. It's all spiritual. So I'm not saying because you don't have it that you're not as spiritual as that person that has it. I'm just saying God will meet you right at that place that you need to be. If you're like pouring your heart out, you're giving all that you've got, just keep praying to him, keep believing and keep trusting that he's going to give you the advice. But once he gives you that advice, and this make sure you're disciplined and take action. So don't just get all this advice and knowledge, not been there, and I just sat on it. Take action. Just take action.
Faith without work is what?
Yeah, faith without work is dead.
That's it.
So
That's it.
so that's how I think I got out. When I got to college, I didn't aspire to be a CPA. I didn't even really know what a CPA was. And so I feel like God sent the right person to plant that seed into me. I'm like, oh, I can do that. And so since there, my financial situation has been better, but that at that point, that was more of a faith. See, again, it was more of a faith move that I took faith and action. Like, it was really difficult. Taking this exam was hard, but to me, I related to the person right now that's figuring out how I'm going to pay my bills. It is a relationship. Your relationship with money is spiritual. So I would say just depend on God, listen for him, and take action. You have to take action. He'll send you somebody. I do believe that he'll send you some help. He really will.
Well, he done sent on you, Deidre.
Oh, that's so sweet. I have a heart to help people. I have a heart, seriously, because again, I've been in that place in my, like, I've seen family members in that place. So I try to reach out and give some kind of encouraging words. So I think if we're say middle or higher income people, I just think we need to still reach back to our tribe or our community and help. When you see a need, just help. So I just encourage that we all help each other.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So we really appreciate you. I know you mentioned that you had some resources that we could use, and so if you want to email those, I can add those to the website and we can share that out, just those resources. But I do want to just again highlight how they can contact you, and it's dltaylor.cpa@gmail.com. Is that correct?
Yes, and they can also go to my website and contact me there. They'll see all the services I provide, but they can contact me on my website as well.
Can you tell us your website?
It's just www.DeidreTaylorCPA.com. And so that's DEIRDRE CPA.com.
Awesome.
I would love to, help people get their finances on track, talk about taxes, but, going through the initial consultation, it'll be free, of course. So I would love for people to contact me. And if they need resources to good investment advisors, I have 2 that I've vetted, so I can also give that to them too. I can email that to you guys as well. I don't get paid for referring people, but I know that there's those are 2 that I can trust. So
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you. We pray, guys, that you receive something that you can take. So Deirdre gave us some financial food for thought, but she also gave us some spiritual food for thought. And so we pray that you guys receive that. Just a reminder that we would love for you to like and subscribe to Victory Baptist Church of Dallas, our Facebook and our YouTube page. We also have our growth classes every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock and worship service Sundays at 11 o'clock. So if you're into the Sister Circle, that happens on Wednesdays. And if you're more into talking about sports and current topics, the Brothers on the Block have their time together on Mondays at 7 o'clock. So thanks everybody for joining us. We certainly are grateful, and Deirdre, you did an amazing job.
thank you.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye everybody.